Trismegistus, the ultimate formula, has 1 to 4 players performing alchemical experiments to try and turn lead into gold. Board and Dice provided this in exchange for an honest review. This game has a lot to it, but I'll try to keep things simple. The rulebook has a recommended setup for your first play. I'll touch on a general setup as well to introduce some game components and ideas. The main board goes in the center. Place the level 1 experiment deck on the matching space, then fill each experiment space with 1 face-up card. Place the level 1 artifact tile stack on the matching space, then fill each artifact space with 1 face-up. Place the publication deck face down on its space. Randomly place bonus tokens on the matching Essence Mastery track spaces. Set the level 2 and 3 experiment decks and artifact piles aside. Make piles for the reaction, essence, ethereal dye, and chameleon tokens, as well as the material cubes. Remove dice depending on player count, then roll the dice. Place dice in the matching alchemical bowls. If a bowl has 6 or more dice, re-roll and resort according to symbol until all bowls have 5 or fewer dice. Give players a laboratory board and matching formula tiles and a set of colored discs. Place 4 small discs at the bottom of each Essence Mastery track, a large disc on 0 on the scoring track, and a large disc on the turn order track. Players are dealt 2 starting and masterpiece cards, publication cards, and starting artifacts. Keep 1 of each, discard the other. Players also receive 4 material cubes to place on the 4 lowest raw, or round, material flasks of their board, 2 reaction tiles active side up, and 1 of each essence tile. Players after the starting player receive additional ethereal dye tokens based on turn order. Player turns consist of 4 phases: die draft, action and free actions, opponent reactions, then lab cleanup. A player completes all phases, then the next player goes. A round ends after each player has drafted and used up 3 dice. Draft a die from an alchemical bowl. Both color and symbol are important. Put the die on your potency track number, matching the amount of dice in the alchemical bowl before you took the die. The infinity symbol is wild. Set the potency, then change it to any symbol. When drafting, you can spend 1 ethereal dye token to increase potency by 1, although you cannot go above 5. On later turns, if you still have potency, you don't need to draft a new die. If you do draft one, move the older die to the green used die slot. Players may take 1 of 6 actions. This is the heart of the game, and I'll briefly touch on all of them. With any main action, you'll spend 1 or more die potency, then move the die down the track. The 6 actions are: gain raw materials matching the die symbol, acquire essences matching the die symbol as shown on the main board next to the alchemical bowl. You can also flip over a used artifact to its active side, acquire a face-up experiment card matching the symbol on your die, acquire face-up artifact matching the color of your die, or transmute. Transmutations change a raw or refined material into another refined material according to the arrows on your board. You can only transmute on a path matching the die color, and you must pay an essence. After transmuting, move your marker up the matching mastery track based on the essence you used. If you transmute past an artifact, activate it, then flip it over. You can also do unlimited free actions. These are: purchase a formula tile and place it in your central vault by paying gold, use a formula tile in your vault, and perform an experiment. When you perform an experiment, you must be at or above the Essence Mastery track level in the card's top right corner, and pay the required materials in the top left corner. Gain bonuses in the bottom left corner, then tuck the card under the matching formula column. If it's the first completed experiment of that type, you unlock 1 formula tile to place in your vault. The game has rules for making experiments easier, lowering Essence Mastery track requirements, and substituting gold for other materials, but let's move on for now. After you completed your action, opponents can flip 1 reaction token to perform 1 of 4 actions based on the active player's die. Gain 1 matching material, gain 1 matching essence, perform 1 transmutation, or recharge 1 exhausted artifact. After reactions, the active player does lab cleanup. Tidy dice, change turn order if you used your third die of the round, and remove Mastery Track bonus tokens if they've been passed. Some players will end before others if they use up their dice faster or drafted low potency dice. Publication cards are scored during endgame and show a number of earth, water, fire, and/or air symbols. Players acquire symbols during the game through artifacts, completed experiments, or by reaching the top of the Essence Mastery tracks. Each symbol can only contribute to one publication, but you may be able to score multiple if you're very clever. At the end of the round, roll the dice, set them out as before, replace experiment decks and artifact tiles with those from the next level, and start the next round according to the turn order track. The game ends after 3 rounds. At the end of the game, players score points from completed experiments and publications, the number of formula tiles in their vault, leftover gold and ethereal die tokens, and if they've reached the scoring zones on the Essence Mastery tracks. Draft dice and use their actions to acquire materials, transmute, and more in order to complete experiments and your Philosopher's Zone. That's Trismegistus, the Ultimate Formula. Do not attempt to play Trismegistus, the Ultimate Formula, on anything smaller than a large dining table. There are piles of bits, a big main board, and huge player boards. I'll talk about these again later. Once you know what you're doing, 3 can play in under 2 hours. As always, this includes setup and takedown. Players determine game length because of dice drafting. You can race through the game or take a long time. Speaking of that, analysis paralysis will make this game take forever. AP is when people freeze and they need to make decisions. The average 12-year-old could handle this, although very experienced kids 10 or 11 could at least try. There are a lot of symbols that you need to track and match. I'll talk more about this later as well, and you have to be able to plan well and maximize every action. In the final round of our 4th game of Trismegistus, the Ultimate Formula, I was low on Mercury and had not yet completed my masterpiece. Luckily, there was 1 Mercury die left, but Dad took it on me. I used my Chameleon token to adjust a black die, giving me just enough materials to finish my masterpiece on my very last turn. Dad finished his on his final turn as well, and we both beat Mom. The dice drafting and action system in Trismegistus, the Ultimate Formula, is super clever. The way multiple things are tied into a die, path, material, available essence, and number of actions, is an incredible design. You'll want to do so many things, but will only be able to do a few. If no alchemical bowl has more than 3 or 4 dice, that's rough. If one bowl has a high number, there might be a race, but taking dice makes the remaining ones decrease in value. This might annoy some players, so keep that in mind. The way you transmute refined to refined and raw to the next refined location is also clever. You need essences to transmute, although you can use mercury. What if you need mercury to transmute? What if you don't have the right color of dye? Difficult choices, but so good. The player boards are very large. You need to track a whole bunch of things on it, but then you'll have artifacts and experiments sticking out as well. Look at Sorcerer. You've one of the best player boards I've ever seen, plus an incredible reference. Here, you have a portrait of the alchemist, the shells, and a cute kitty. I love cats, but this could have been redesigned in a cleaner way with a better reference. The included reference is not only unhelpful because very little is explained, but there's a typo. Throw it away and print one from Board Game Geek. Games, or at least player strategies, will be different depending on how the artifacts, experiments, and dice come out. In other words, for such an otherwise Euro or strategy-heavy design, there's a lot of randomness. This might annoy players who prefer less luck. Your individual strategies will change and you'll need to be able to tactically adapt. There can be a lot of downtime, although there can also be very little because of how the game turns work. You could have all of these plans about what you'll do, then someone will take that die you wanted. That's fine, you can still get that one No, someone just took it. Okay, now what? This also might annoy players. Then again, there are some ways to mitigate things. You have the wild die. Mercury is both an essence and a material, reactions, chameleon and ethereal die tokens, and bonus effects from artifacts and formulas. The artifacts and formulas are game-breaking, but not in a bad way. They're like superpowers, and that you can activate an artifact as soon as you get it was an interesting decision. Because you choose where it goes, maybe they thought that, hey, in case you put it in a bad location, have a freebie. Most of this game's scoring is in secret. Opponents don't really know how valuable your completed experiments are, and then there's your masterpiece, publications, and, if you play with them, achievements. Players will be able to see how far everyone is on the Essence Mastery track, but they're unlikely to peek over on an opponent's vault or count everyone's remaining gold and ethereal die tokens. You might think you did a good job, then someone blasts past you on the scoring track because of how their scoring bonuses combine off one another. This might annoy players as well, so keep that in mind. I like theme in games. I don't mind games with lots of icons. Architects of the West Kingdom has a bunch, as does Sierra West, which is also from this publisher. Theme here gets in the way often, and the graphic design doesn't help. Red and black experiments go in the tan and yellow spots at the top of your board. The artifact icon is very similar to the card one, and the colors aren't right for that either. I bet most players will just call icons by color or description. Devil, Weird 4, and so on, or by color. Would it be less thematic to have the dice show 1 to 5 plus the infinity symbol for wilds and have those numbers on the board in addition to the alchemical symbols? Maybe, but the game would be faster and more straightforward. There's a lot to like about Trismegistus: The Ultimate Formula. You have to manage and consider so many things, and you have options in dice and in actions. Unfortunately, there's a lot to dislike as well. First, there's the terrible graphic design that gets in the way of what's otherwise an incredibly fun system that clicks. Because you're fighting the game, black cards are yellow on your board, and this symbol looks like that symbol, and it's more a relief when you finish an experiment than it is excitement. Second, even though you'll get faster at parts of the game with more plays, there are still the random elements that'll change everything before your next turn. Then there are variants like the one that rearranges the order of Essence Mastery track, or achievements that add yet another thing to pay attention to across the table. It's complex, but not nearly as complicated as the design decisions made it. I absolutely recommend playing this if you like thinky games with lots of planning, but try before you buy.